Over to you, Philippa.
Okay, thanks, Fiona. And hi, everybody. My name's Philippa Coleman, and it's lovely to meet you and welcome to Immersion Orientation Day. So what are we going to do in the next hour or so? Well, you're going to meet our team and learn a little bit more about us. We're going to talk about the program. As Fiona said, we're going to watch a video, and then you're going to figure out what you're going to learn, how you're going to learn it, how you'll be evaluated, and what you need to do to prepare. And the last part of the program today is we're going to be joined by Leanne Wilson from Australian Homestay Network, who's going to talk a little bit more about that component and the in-person part and answer a few of your questions. Thank you. So let's begin by just telling you a little bit about us. You've met Fiona and me. We are both the co-founders and directors of the Queensland Institute. And who are the Queensland Institute? Well, we're a private education and training provider based here in Brisbane, in beautiful Brisbane. And what do? Well, we help schools and universities to design and deliver practical professional development for language teaching and learning. And we work across all the sectors, primary, secondary, and tertiary sectors of international education. And while we operate primarily online, we also do host some in-person programs like your one here in Australia and sometimes abroad as well. What about our story? Well, my own personal story with the University of Hong Kong actually dates back to 2005. So nearly 20 years I've been working with colleagues at the University of Hong Kong, putting together immersion programs, as well as the team here, Kira and Fiona, have also been working for many, many years when we were all colleagues at the University of Queensland. So we bring with us a wealth of experience and knowledge to inform our programs from all these past participants that we know. And we're happy that now in 2023, we can continue our collaboration with the University of Queensland, who's one of our partners here in the program. But we have hundreds of alumni from Hong Kong University who share with us their teaching stories and teaching journeys, and we're still connected with those people. And so we hope that we'll remain connected with you long after you leave our program as well. And here, as you can see, is a map of the world with little red pins in it, demonstrating the countries in which we work. We work in Hong Kong, you know that for sure, but I'm wondering how good your geography is and whether you can identify some other countries that we work with, and you could write them in the chat. Let's see, what other countries do you know? In addition to Hong Kong, where the Queensland in Taiwan. Yes, Dominic, we do a lot of work in Taiwan. Yes. Any other countries that you can identify? Japan. Yes, Claire, you're right. We do work with Japanese teachers. Any other ones that you can tell us? Mexico. Well done. Bravo, Nathan. Yes. And Yanni, thank you. Yes. We've done a webinar for more than 10,000 teachers at the same time in Mexico. Vietnam, yes, Nathan, your geography's great. Well done. Yes, we've done some workshops in Vietnam. Any of the other ones that you can recognize? Chile, yes, Fiona, well done. Thank you. That's the one below Mexico, also in South America. Yeah. And Malaysia, good try, Cyrus, but we haven't. We'd love to do some work in Malaysia, but we haven't as yet. And somebody wrote Kiribati on our screen. Thank you. It's a little tiny group of islands, well, many islands, but they're very small in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So yeah, and the other country, yes, we've also worked with the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Brian. Yep. And RMIT in Melbourne and Vietnam, and also the University of South Australia. Yeah, so thank you. You can see that we're actually in 11 nations. All right. Well, you've met our training team more or less on the top line there, myself, Fiona, Kira, and Vicky sends her apologies. Unfortunately, she's not feeling well today, so she can't join us. And we'd also like to welcome the newest member of our team, Leslie, hi, Leslie. Yeah, thanks for waving. And Leslie has joined us as a program support officer. And we're hoping that she will connect with you, particularly in the in-person components when that you're here in Brisbane, and help you become really familiar with the UQ campus and the Brisbane environment and things that you can see and do. So thanks for joining us today, Leslie. And I don't know about you with your students or as students, when your students in a class, do any getting to know you activities, like kind of icebreakers, you know, just to break the ice and learn a little bit more about each other so that we feel comfortable. Well, we're going to do a short activity that we often do with our students, and you might like to use it later. We're going to give you some true and false statements about each of us in the team. And it's like a little quiz. You don't know us very well, but you can see what we look like and imagine what we might be. Yes, and as Fiona's writing in the chat, it's a total guess. So you might be right and you might be wrong. It's only a 50%, 50-50 chance. So don't worry. Yes, but please play along. And it's to get you going in the chat. So the first question's about me. Fiona's going to put it in the chat. And did I teach young Colombian adults how to host city tours in English? What do you think, T or F? Write it in the chat and see how many T's we get, how many F's we get. What do you think? Yanni's thinking true. Oh, lots of people are thinking true, 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 true. Okay. Oh, just one false from Natalie. Good on you, Natalie. Brave soul. Good on you. And Elaine. Okay. So mostly trues, but a few falses. All right, then. No problem. Let's go on. We'll go through each of the statements first, and then we'll go back and think about the answers. So the next question's about Fiona. Was she a high school drama teacher in the past? What do you think? T or F? T, 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 T. Mostly T's, Fiona, for you.
Are you miming to try and sway the answer?
No, that's
Claire, Thomas. All right, but again, mostly true. All right, then. The third question is about Kira. Kira has taught English teachers in remote villages in Vietnam and Cambodia. Does that look like Kira? What do you think? True or false? True or false? True or false? Hey,
so many
more falses. Yeah, loads of trues, mostly trues. Okay. They're a very believing lot, this lot, you know? Okay, Cyrus is going out on a limb there and saying it's false. And so's Felicia.
I'm going to include Vicky, even though she's not here today.
Because you want to find out about her?
Yes, because we want to get to know all our trainers. Does Vicky conduct a community choir for international students here in Brisbane? True or false? Okay, a few falses coming through. Couple of trues, number of trues, some falses. Bit more of a mixed bag, this one, don't you think?
If she were here, she would be trying to put us off by singing to try and say our answers.
Like a
Okay.
variety of answers, though.
And then finally, a true or false about Leslie. Has she taught English in Hubei in China, as well as here in Brisbane? What do you think? T or F? Lots of T's. Lots of T's. Okay.
Look like an English teacher, Leslie.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I
Fantastic.
false.
All right then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Shall we reveal the answers then? So the first one I know was about me. Are you going to put them back up, Fiona, or the question?
No, I won't. So just go
Okay.
through yours. So Philippa taught Colombian young adults how to host city tours in English. Is that true, Philippa?
It is. It is. It was true. And it was something that I did in Colombia, in the second biggest city of Colombia, because one of the things that I'm really passionate about is experiential learning and bringing the classroom or taking the classroom out into the community. And so this was a voluntary project that I did in my holidays one year, and it was just fabulous. I loved it. So I'm really interested to engage with you in any discussions about experiential learning and how we can bring the outside world into our classroom and take our classrooms into the outside world. Okay, the second question, Fiona, were you a high school drama teacher?
Was I? Well, as much as I love teaching drama as an English language teacher, I was not a high school drama teacher in the past. I was actually a teacher of English and psychology at secondary schools here in Australia many years ago, and have since become a teacher trainer. But I do love bringing movement into the classroom, so it has become a part of my practice in the later parts of my career. And we can tell you more about that. You will also receive some lessons from us and our team about incorporating movement and music and things like drama through language arts into your textbooks during the program, drawing on some of the experiences of our team. How about you though, Kira? Did you teach English teachers in remote villages in Vietnam and Cambodia?
Well, I taught in Vietnam, in remote villages in Vietnam, but not in Cambodia.
Yes.
In fact, I've never been to Cambodia. Fiona has been to Cambodia.
It was a trick. So does that mean
I was a high school drama teacher. Oh.
Okay.
In Australia, I'm called a drama and LOTE teacher originally. So LOTE stands for languages other than English, because I taught French and Italian before I became an English teacher.
Well, except I can't spell Italian. There we go.
Italian.
Okay, fantastic. And the next one about and so does that mean, Fiona, that you've taught English teachers in remote villages in Vietnam and Cambodia?
Yes, I have. I spent many years actually training teachers in Vietnam, very remote regions, but also in some of the capital cities in Vietnam, and also teachers in Phnom Penh in Cambodia.
Okay.
So love working in those regions. Yeah. We'll tell you some of those stories when we are running the course.
Indeed. And for number 4, does Vicky conduct a community choir for international students? Kira gave you a little bit of a clue that said if she were here, she'd be there to start singing with everybody. So I think the answer to that one is most definitely yes. That one is true. Yeah, great. All right then. And finally, Leslie, have you taught English in Hubei as well as Brisbane? Is that true or false?
Yes, that's true.
Oh.
I really like the opportunity that I have experienced teaching both like my home country as well as in the English-speaking country.
Oh.
So it brought me like a different perspective from both ends. So I value it as a very good opportunity.
Absolutely. It's two different perspectives, isn't it? Both are extremely valuable. So yeah, that's great. So yeah.
How long have you been in Australia, Leslie?
It's 8 years. 8 years. Yeah, but not all the time in Australia. I spent maybe half in China, half in Australia.
We're delighted. We've just welcomed Leslie to our team this year. We know her well through her studies at the University of Queensland. She's about to submit her thesis for her Masters of TESOL. So we're delighted to have her joining us on the program and working with all of you in program support along the way. So thank you for joining us, Leslie. I'll hand back to Philippa to continue the journey.
Sure. So now you know a little bit more about us and our team, and now you also have your first activity, maybe that you can use with your students in your classes. But some other people, partners that you need to meet who we're working with. As we mentioned, Leanne will be joining us a little bit later in this orientation. She's from the Homestay Network. We're also going to be working with Moreton Bay College and Michael Boss, and you'll meet Michael when you're here in Brisbane. And we're also very, very happy to have the support of the UQ School of Languages and Culture, and in particular, Associate Professor Noriko Iwashita, who's really helped us in bringing this program together. So it's, yeah, so you know the team and you know the people and the partners that we are working with. And when you get this presentation, we'll share it with you, and you can click on those buttons that Fiona's just pointing at now, and they will take you to different links on the internet where you can read a little bit more about Homestay or about Noriko or Moreton Bay College, or you can do that after. Okay, so you know a little bit about us and you know a little bit about the people and the partners that we're working with, but let's think about your immersion program. And again, we're going to get the chat going. I mean, as you know, it's a 6-week program altogether, 6 weeks. What day is the first day of the program? What's the date of the first day? There's a little faint clue up on the screen. Who's the first person to the 30th of the 4th? No, Natalie. Great. Dominic, I think, is the first person. Yes, but then you others are right. Yes, the 29th of May, Monday, the 29th of May. Great. Okay, fantastic. Is the first day of the online program. Okay, how many weeks are we going to be online? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many weeks online?
Got it.
Well done. Congratulations, the first, and Nathan, yes, 2 weeks online. Great. So what date is the last date of the online program? What's the last date of the online program? Yes, Muskan, well done. The 9th of the 6th, the 9th of June. Great. So what day do you travel to Brisbane? Do you leave Hong Kong and make your journey to Australia? What date or day? Muskan, you're brilliant. You've got the hottest fingers, the fastest fingers, June the 10th. Well done. Yes. And then how many weeks will you be in Australia? How long is the in-person immersion? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, Muskan. I think Muskan deserves the prize. Yeah. And Nathan a close second. Great. 4 weeks. Well done. And
We
what
powered up after her Subway sandwich.
I think so. I think so. What date is the final day of your immersion program? What date is the final date? Miss Gunn's not sure, but she's absolutely correct. Yes, it'll be the 7th of July, which is Friday. Yeah, great. Friday, the 7th of July. Fantastic. All right then. So it's a 6-week program. It's a blended program. First 2 weeks online, which as Professor Yun Yi was saying, are really important in building those digital skills and becoming familiar with a lot of the content that's going to set you up for when you're here in Brisbane. Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that all of the weeks connect together, in fact. So a lot of what you experience in the first 2 weeks of the program is preparing you for your course delivery when you're here in Brisbane. So for example, some of the sessions that you encounter in the first 2 weeks will be setting up some of the systems you need, some of the digital tools you need to understand, and we will use frequently live here in Australia. Also, some of the instructions for your peer teaching and your first experience of practicum teaching will start online, and then we will follow up in person here in Australia, as well as some of the cultural content that connects to your cultural experiences here in Australia will be delivered in the first 2 weeks of the program. So really critical that you make sure when you're talking to your friends, your families, your part-time job employers, the students that you tutor, and everybody else that are involved in your busy lives in Hong Kong, is that you need to clear the decks for that first 2 weeks of the online immersion to make sure that you've got time available to really engage fully as a student teacher in the program. So we'll share more of the dates and the timing and all that sort of thing in a moment. But that's our top tip. Number 1 is to let your family know, let your employers know, let your students that you tutor know, I'm busy. From the 29th of May, I'm going to be fully engaged in being a student myself. So we hope to support you through that journey. It is an intensive immersion program. So just like your studies at Hong Kong U, you'll be fully engaged the whole way through. So a little bit of a heads up. Before we continue to share more information, and thank you, Philippa, for the introduction, we're actually going to share a short video, because we could talk and talk and talk about the program, or you could hear from some of our past participants and their experiences of studying with us in the immersion program. These 2 students, Alice and Carson, are now teaching in Hong Kong and have been for the last couple of years, in fact. I heard from Carson not long ago about her experiences, and she's had some lovely life experiences since then, I think getting married and all sorts of fabulous things. So we are still in touch, and we hear about how they are working and using the activities with their students themselves. So experiences from a few years ago of the online immersion program, but still relevant, as much of the program activity and task types remain in the program for all of you. So I'm going to ask you to show me 2 things. First of all, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the video on screen right now? Fantastic, thank you. And another thumbs up when you can hear it. Let's see. Quick task. Your job as you watch the video is pretty simple. I'd like you to make a big list either in the chat or on a piece of paper near you and just write down any of the activities that you hear Carson and Alice talk about. What did they do during the program? When we come to the end of the video, I'm going to ask you to fill up my chat box with a list of all the activities that you heard Carson and Alice mention. Let's go.
My name is Carson Lee, and I'm in the full-time PGDE English primary stream, 2020-21.
And I'm Alice Yu, and I'm from the PGDE secondary English stream.
We did our PGDE immersion this year.
Yes, in Australia. So we had a 6-week immersion, right? So every week we were given different themes and topics. And for example, like giving classroom management, giving instructions, or like adapting coursebook for our learning and teaching. And by the end of every week, we had to do a peer teaching session, which we had to be the teachers and to teach our classmates and also the teacher in turn, right?
Right. So as our teacher told us, we were basically switching from a student hat to a teacher hat. So we were getting both the learning and the teaching experience throughout the 6 weeks. If I have to pick one, then I have to say the peer teaching experience. It was challenging at times because we had to plan one lesson every week, which was difficult to do since it's the first time for us to plan lessons. And also doing the lesson online through Zoom, it was a new experience for us. So doing the peer teaching was challenging, but then also at the same time, it was so much fun, and it was a great learning opportunity for us. So yeah, that has to be my favorite activity. What about you?
So for me, my favorite activity was the warm-up activity. When we were in the immersion, we had to wake up before 8 every day. So we were so sleepy, everyone was yawning and drowsy. But the teacher really put a lot of efforts to create a lot of warm-up activities for us, like singing, dancing, and it really woke us up.
Yeah, and those activities were actually really helpful. Yeah, and really helpful for us to incorporate into our own teaching. From the simple things, having to wake up early,
yes,
kind of managing our time and schedule, but hey, it's all part of the training to become a real teacher, having to wake up early.
Yes.
Some other challenges for you?
The other most challenging part, I think, would be the peer teaching part. Because as I've mentioned before, we had 6 weeks of peer teaching, and not every week we were really confident about it. I wasn't an artsy person, so through those weeks about artworks and also English literature, I really struggled a lot.
Yeah, some of the topics that we had to teach were definitely not the most common topics that we're familiar with in English teaching. But I think it also really made us push our limit, try something new, have a wider perspective on the different topics that we can incorporate into our English teaching. So poetry, like you said, visual arts in English learning, they were challenging. We had to do a lot of research, think about how to make this easy and approachable for our students. But I think they were really fun, and we could get really creative with them. So that was a good learning experience for us, right?
So it was through the challenges that we find fun through it.
Yep, definitely.
I would like to highlight one online platform that many of us won't be familiar with. It is the Word Wall, interactive online platform, where we could set different, probably academic questions, but through a more interactive and in games, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I actually got to use WordWall today in my teaching.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm still using it to this day. It's very helpful. And for me, thinking about some of the activities, just the ways the teacher really got us engaged into the online setting. As all of us are already aware of, online learning can get boring sitting behind the computer screen, and it can be really demotivating. But the different ways to motivate our students and engage them, get them to be really active in their learning, like dancing, using hand gestures and movements incorporated into our activities. All of those were still useful, very useful for us.
So unfortunately, to the future Hong Kong U students in the upcoming year, you will have to experience e-immersion online, but don't feel demotivated right away. So we were the ones who experienced the e-immersion, and we had really good experience throughout those weeks. And so my advice would be just be engaged and try your best to enjoy the learning experience, because you never know what you would take away from that.
Yeah, for me, the advice that I would like to give, and I think this applies to any type of online learning, not just e-immersion, is to be prepared and open to learn. Because even though we're sitting behind a computer screen, the teachers at the immersion really are prepared to just give everything to us. There's so much that they have prepared, and so all we have to do is to be open and prepared and be excited about the learning experience that's ahead.
So good luck everyone, and try your best and enjoy the e-immersion. We are looking forward to hearing some of your good news.
Good luck.
Situation.
Have a good day.
So maybe you recognize some of your former students there too. All right, folks, tell me in the chat, what are some activities they mention? Carson and Alice mentioned. So I heard them say things like adapting textbooks. Give me a list. Yes, Jasmine. Peer teaching. Morning activities. Yeah, the warm-ups, I think Alice said. Singing and dancing is definitely part of it. Some good details, Brian. Yes, 1 lesson plan a week. Warm-up activities. They were definitely some of the big takeaways. Love it. So organized, Rowena. Fantastic. Creative pedagogies. Nice. Poetry, writing, movement, dancing, hand gestures, using online digital tools for delivery and engagement. So when Carson mentioned that she's still using WordWall to this day, even though that was part of the digital program, she was using WordWall in her physical classroom in Hong Kong. So it's not like we don't use apps in the classroom with our students physically too. So that's the beauty of you experiencing both, is that you will see how we use those. And that's what I mean when I say we set up a lot of these things in that first 2 weeks of the online delivery, because you'll be using them when you're here in the classroom. So feeling really capable to use some of that digital technology when you're here live and doing your peer teaching is what we hope to achieve in those first 2 weeks of the program. Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing the list. Let's jump in and have a look in more detail about your exact program, because you will not only be online. You will also be here in Australia. And I know that you're eager to discover when you have some free time as well, so you can perhaps start booking some of your adventures even before you leave Hong Kong. So let's have a closer look. So as Philippa mentioned earlier, we have a 6-week program, and as you heard Carson and Alice mention, there is a different theme every week of the program. So I'll give you a moment to have a look at those. So in the first 2 weeks, you will be experiencing peer teaching for the first time, meaning you will be in teacher position and your classmates will be in student position, and you will be teaching them for a short period of time, about 8 to 10 minutes per person, for example, so a micro lesson. And it's an opportunity for you to play with the online delivery and to receive feedback from your peers and your tutors. So the topics in the first 2 weeks are about Australia, so that it's something new that you will be perhaps new to you and new to your classmates. So there's a genuine learning opportunity when you are teaching. And also in the second week, it will be about setting up speaking activities, so classroom management focus. And those classroom management strategies are the things that we hope you will employ in your physical peer teaching here in Australia too. So in week 3, we'll be excited and we'll all be at the airport waiting for you with open arms, excited to meet you here in Brisbane, and we launch straight into our Australian school experience. So we'll have our first day on campus at the University of Queensland, so we can give you some orientation to Brisbane before we head off to Moreton Bay College to your first school experience. We'll tell you more about that in a moment. Week 4, we're back in the UQ classrooms and we are full on into working with textbooks and thinking about your future students in Hong Kong and how you might bring your textbooks to life. Textbooks are a reality of delivery for every teacher, whether it be primary or secondary. We will all work from a core text with our students, but how can we bring that to life and keep it engaging? We'll also be incorporating elements of language arts, as you heard Carson and Alice talk about, those visual elements, poetry, working with language in different ways, for example. Week 5 is grammar, 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 but not as you know it. So we're going to show you some creative ways to engage students in grammar delivery and lessons. So feel free to brush up on your English tenses and your own grammar in the background if you want to be super prepared coming into immersion. Week 6, our focus is about inclusive education and all of the ways that we welcome all learners to the classroom, whether it be students with disabilities, students who have learning differentiation from neurodiversity, all the way through to looking at what sorts of activities we can use with students to make sure everyone feels valued and welcome in our classrooms as educators. It's also a chance for you to showcase something that you have loved throughout the program. So the last week, rather than peer teaching, you'll be choosing a topic of focus that you want to showcase and highlight to your colleagues. Something from looking back throughout the program that you have really enjoyed and feel passionate about and want to delve a little bit deeper into to showcase with all of us. So I am going to give you the full 6-week timetable today so that you can start to look ahead at dates and what's happening. But I want to spend a moment here on what a typical week looks like, because all of the weeks have a similar format. Right? So you heard Alice and Carson mention they had to get up very early to start their classes and be online at 8 o'clock. Is that the same for you? What time does your class start? Yes, Rainbow, 8:30. By the way, fabulous name, Rainbow. Nathan, 8:30. Yes, so based on their feedback, we have given you an extra half an hour of sleep, or as we like to think of it, time to wake up, get dressed, have breakfast, get your coffee, have your bubble tea, everything ready to go, so that you can switch on and be ready for study at 8:30. So a little bit more time for you guys. So we do a 2-hour block, 8:30 to 10:30. Then you have a lunch hour or a brunch, I guess, from 10:30 to 11:30. So a great chance to eat some more, have a little nap. Some of our students do, that's fine. So that you're back online and ready at 11:30 to 1:30 for further classes. But even though that's where your class time ends each day, remember earlier I said, tell your family, tell your bosses, tell everybody you know you're going to be busy. Because even when class ends, there is an expectation that you would be spending at least an hour, sometimes 2, of your afternoon, or getting up really early to do it in the morning to prepare some things for the next day. So for example, you might have some lesson materials that you need to prepare outside of class time. You might have lesson planning to do outside of class time, for example. We will give you plenty of time during class to get prepared, but inevitably, as all new teachers, everything takes longer than we think the first time around. So writing a lesson plan, I can see Leslie smiling. It sounds very familiar to her, just having done lots of lesson planning in Brisbane. It takes a lot longer, so you've got to have that time available to you. So you'll notice that there are lots of, we don't call them lectures, we call them interactive lessons, because we deliver workshop style. So it's not the same as coming and sitting in a lecture and taking notes. We definitely will be putting you in student position so that you experience the activities yourself and can develop that sense of empathy for how does that activity feel? What would I keep and adapt for my own students? So we need to see your cameras on, we need to hear your voices, we need to see your faces as we do pronunciation work, we need to see your lips, your teeth, your tongue, for example, when we're demonstrating pronunciation activities and those sorts of things. So it's up and on screen and on camera from 8:30. We check attendance throughout the day, twice a day. First when you arrive and then again at 11:30. And attendance for us does mean having your camera on. So we understand sometimes you'll be working from home or something's happening, that's okay, and you need to turn your camera off. If your trainers notice that your cameras are off for 10 minutes or more, then we will try to communicate with you in the chat. If we can't raise you through the chat, then unfortunately we will mark you absent for that second session, for example. So we'll do our best to communicate with you and ask that you do the same as professional young educators of the future, that you communicate with us if something's happening for your family or you're feeling unwell or you have to leave early for a job appointment or something. Of course we understand, but we do expect that you will communicate with us every day about what's happening. If there is illness and you are unwell, as you do in Hong Kong, you would have to supply a medical certificate if you are absent for a full day. So we'll tell you more about those specifics on the first day, but we wanted to give you that heads up, just so that you have that expectation of full engagement throughout the online program as well. So there is one day here where you are not switching on for classes. Can anybody tell me which day of the week you will not switch on for class? Any guesses? Yes, that's right. Thursday is a self-directed learning day. So that means you will have some things to do, such as preparing your lesson plan, but you don't have to switch on for class with us that day. So you'll receive those tasks earlier in the week. And then on the Thursday, you can manage your time as you see fit. So that does also mean if there was a day that you needed to go to a doctor's appointment or take your cat to the vet or something, wherever you can, that gives you that flexibility that day, for example, to make your dentist appointments or those sorts of things, so that you can be available on the class days wherever possible. Speaking of cats, pets are very welcome to join us online. We love seeing your dogs and cats and meeting your families and all those sorts of things. So if you're studying from home, you're very welcome to bring your pets with you to the online class. Unfortunately, they cannot accompany you to Australia, but we'd love to meet them online. So Kira is asking, what was your question, Kira?
I was wondering if Claire had a pet. I thought I saw a pet before.
Yes, it's about time before she eats, so she's asking for food.
Oh, that's why she keeps coming up to you. I saw you go trying to.
Yes, I'm so sorry. She's asking for food because
We love
it's about
it.
time she eats.
No worries. We love meeting all your pets. So, and this is a great example, Claire. Oh, so cute. She was so cute. What's her name, Claire? Is it a her? She?
Sesame.
Sesame.
Sima.
Nice. Well, see, this would be one of those times where Claire might say, Fiona, I'm just turning my camera off for 5 minutes to feed my cat. I'm like, okay. So she's like, I'm still listening, but I'm turning my camera off for 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, great. Go feed your cat so you can focus, for example. All right. So thank you, Claire, giving us a good example. So I'm going to share a Padlet with you in a moment. Tell me in the chat, have you used Padlet before? Probably at Hong Kong U. Tell me yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Let's go. Yep. Brilliant. So we will also use Padlet as a digital delivery tool. We'll store lots of your materials there, share information with you guys. So here is your first Padlet. As you can see on the Padlet, which I'll give you the link to in just a moment, you can find the complete timetable. So for week 1, for week 2, week 3, you get the idea. There are 6 weeks, but 2 questions. I'm going to ask you to play on the Zoom chat. So quick skim of the 6-week timetables and tell me 2 things. There are 3 cultural excursions listed here. All of them we recommend you do while you are here in Australia, but which 2 will we arrange for you? So which 2 are already in the program? And secondly, you have some independent travel time while you are here in Australia. There are 2 occasions that you have independent travel time. So which weeks do they occur? Week 3, week 5, week 6, for example. So, quick check. Will you tell me the answers in the chat on Zoom or type on the Padlet? Before I release the Padlet, where will you answer those 2 questions? Will you type in the chat or will you type on the Padlet? Oh, lucky we checked this instruction. We're not sure. So please type your answers to the 2 questions. In the chat here on Zoom. It's a better record for us, okay? Instruction checking, helpful. All right, time to release the Padlet, ladies and gentlemen, to see the timetable. Let's see who has the quickest scanning skills to look for those dates and cultural excursions. You will need a password, which is the word meet, QI. Jump in. Happy scanning. How did you go, Kira? Can you open the Padlet okay? You can, that's good. Is that working for you, Leslie? Can you open the Padlet? Great. Week three.
Yeah, it's good. It's lovely.
Can see
While
one.
everyone's reading, I'm going to fill up my water quickly. I'll be right back. So I'm a hydrated teacher.
Go for it. Thanks, Natalie. Got your answers. I'll wait for a few more. So I'm looking for 2 answers each, actually. Maybe that was the sorry. Good, I can see some answers coming in the chat. Nice. Can see some correct answers. Good. One more minute. Nice. Nice. Good systematic scanning, everybody. I can see you methodically working through the questions. Well done. All right, so let's have a look. You are absolutely right. You are going to go to Lone Pine Wildlife Sanctuary with us. So we will take you on a tour of the sanctuary. It's your chance to have a selfie with a koala if you like. And we'll also be taking you to North Stradbroke Island. We do recommend that you go to the Gold Coast, but that might be something that you plan in your free time, for example. So don't go ahead and book yourself in for Lone Pine Sanctuary or North Stradbroke Island tours. You will already do that on the program with us. Okay. And again, you were correct. You'll have 2 occasions where you have a little bit of free time. At the end of week 3, you have a shorter day on the Friday after your visit to the sanctuary. Then you'll have the rest of the afternoon to go away. So that weekend in week 3 might be a good chance to go to the Gold Coast, for example, because it's only about an hour or so from Brisbane by train to get to the beach. I wouldn't recommend that you fly off somewhere in week 3 because it's a little bit tight. You would only have 2 days, the Saturday, Sunday. So if you had a flight delay or something like that, you might get stuck. So I recommend you hang around that first weekend in Brisbane. There are lots of fabulous local things to see and do. The beaches at the Gold Coast being one of them. That might be a day trip. We'll also tell you about the markets you can see in Brisbane and lots of other wonderful things to do locally. But in week 6 is probably, as you as you correctly identified, you actually have a long weekend there. So you have the full Monday. So that means you've got full 3 days. So you could even fly off somewhere Friday night and fly back in on the Monday afternoon, for example, and really maximize your time if you were keen to see Sydney or Melbourne or meet up with your family in Canberra, or who knows what you might have in mind for your Australian adventure. Okay. So we're just going to have a look at a couple of weeks of the program. Obviously, you will hear much more about the details of every day and every time. We'll keep you posted as we go. But I did want to take a moment to have a look at week 3, because I know many people will be curious about when they first arrive and what happens at the school. So this first day of the program, we'll be welcoming you. The full QI team will welcome you to, and your homestay families will help you to get to UQ on day 1. And we will welcome you to campus at the University of Queensland, show you around the campus and show you our classrooms. Leslie will be there with us as well. We'll have some group photos and lots of information about life in Australia. Making sure that everybody understands how to use the transport systems, for example, so that everyone feels really comfortable to move about the city independently. We'll also spend a little bit of time in the classroom introducing you to the school experience. So we'll be giving you your booklet with some observation tasks, for example, to set you up for when you are in the schools later in the week. And then after lunch, we're going to take you on a little bit of a city walking tour. So definitely on day 1, don't wear your high heel stiletto shoes or anything, because there will be lots of walking and sightseeing. So a good day for sneakers and trainers, or it'll be quite warm, perhaps, and maybe it's sandals. In Brisbane on that day. So it's also an opportunity for us to show you ourselves, the transport systems, how to take a bus, how to take a ferry. You can see a ferry behind me, I think, here, which we use for transport. We don't have an underground metro train system in Brisbane. We wish we did, like Hong Kong, but we don't. So we commute by ferry, just as many of you might do in Hong Kong as well. So ferries and buses is what we use predominantly here in Brisbane. We are the river city. We'll also be sharing with you the code of conduct, things that you must do and abide by as we enter Australian schools, and answering questions about what happens at your school experience. And then off we go. We will all jump on a bus from UQ and head out to our first school experience. So the rest of that week, those 3 days there, you are in Australian schools. So we're actually going to Moreton Bay College, which is an enormous independent school here in Brisbane, and it has 2 campuses. There's a girls' college and there's a boys' college. So it actually functions as 2 schools. So you will experience both campuses, and you will experience primary and secondary classes, conducting some observations and getting to work with real Australian teachers, meet some real Australian students, take lots of notes as you observe the classes. And there will also be an opportunity for you towards the end of that week for you to share a little bit of Hong Kong culture with the Aussie students. So we'll tell you more about that as we move through the course, but in a nutshell, you'll have sort of 10 minutes with the class. You will be working with a group of your classmates, so not individually. It might be 4 of you, for example, that do a little cultural presentation for the class that you've been working with. So in a way, you have a chance to teach Australian kids. So we're delighted to give you that opportunity, and you will have had a chance to observe how things work earlier in the week and get to know some of your students as well. So the school will give you a little bit of a graduation ceremony as you exit the school. So everyone will receive a certificate from Moreton Bay College to acknowledge your school experience in Australia. So a great one for your CVs of the future, to share with future employers that you've been in an international school, in an Australian school, and you have that experience. Towards the end of that week, this is where we said you'll have probably, it'll be more than 2 hours, so don't be too confused there. It'll probably be about 3.5 hours out at the koala sanctuary. And then the rest of that day, you'll be able to head off into a slightly longer weekend. And that's where we recommend you stay local, stay around Brisbane, or go to the coast at the beach, for example. The weather should be pretty good in May. It is technically our winter, but it's pretty mild. It's between 15 to 24 degrees. We are a subtropical city. So even though it's getting colder, you can see 15 degrees is still pretty chilly. So you'll definitely need jackets and perhaps a scarf and things for the evenings or the early mornings. But during the day, it's kind of t-shirts and jeans type weather in Brisbane at that time of year. Kira has very kindly put together a fabulous packing list for you to help you prepare. So we'll share that with you shortly. So I'm actually going to pause our presentation there for a moment. We have another Padlet that we're going to share with you shortly that tells you all the things like what to pack and what to bring and all those exciting things about life in Brisbane. But I'm aware that we have allocated some time for our colleague, Leanne Wilson, who is the manager of the Australian Homestay Network here in Brisbane. And I can just see she's joined us in the room. Are you there with us, Leanne?
Yes, sorry, I'm here.
There we
Getting
are.
myself set up.
Perfect timing. Hi, Leanne. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Very well. How is your foot? I think you had a little injury last time we spoke.
Yeah. So still pretty much on bed rest. Can't walk for another 3 or so weeks, and then it'll be graduating to walking in a moon boot with crutches. And it's, I don't know what it's going to go from there. I need to wait till I have more x-rays at my 6-week checkup.
Oh, Leanne, well, we're so sorry to hear you're still feeling a little bit poorly, but so grateful to you for joining us anyway from your bed, to come and share a little bit of an update with all our students. We can say hello to Leanne from Hong Kong, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
So Leanne, perfect timing. We're actually going to hand straight over to you.
Yep.
We've asked Leanne to come and share a little bit of her own experience of being a homestay student some years ago. Thank you, Yunyi. We'll see you shortly. Thank you for joining us. And a few tips for life in Australia with Aussie families. So,
perfect. Wonderful. So hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you. We're looking forward for your group coming in June. So as Fiona said, I'm the manager of the Brisbane AHN office, and we will be organising your homestays when you come in June. So a little bit about me. When I was 17, I travelled to Belgium as an exchange student for 6 months. And during the 6 months I was there, I lived with a homestay family. So, I know what it's like to have those nerves and experience with living with a host family. For me, it was an amazing experience. I got to travel, meet new friends, and experience a new culture. And You know, even though there was times where I was homesick and missing my family and friends, it was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had. You know, I got to try different types of food, practice language skills, meet new people. I attended a local high school and would often practice my French with my host mother. So, you know, rest assured that the team that will be looking after you, we understand the experience, we know what you'll be going through, and we're here to help. So on my team, there's myself. And like I said, I have had experience being in your shoes. We also have Lynn, who's originally from Taiwan, and she's been living in Australia for at least 15 years and has been with AHN since 2016. We also have Lucy, who joined us at the start of this year. And when she was growing up, her family were a host family for international students. So she's had international students in her home growing up. And we also have Amanda on our team part-time, who's been with AHN since 2015. So between the four of us, we've got a lot of experience, and you know, we'll do our best to ensure that you have a wonderful experience in homestay. So my top 3 tips are: don't be scared to talk and ask questions. You know, I'm a shy person myself, so I understand it can be really nervous, asking questions and being unsure, but please communicate with your host family. They've hosted lots of students before and they know what to expect. And, you know, it's easier to have that open communication, ask questions, make sure you're sure of things. Your host is here to help, rather than not be sure and be worried. Have that open communication, you will feel much better. You know, be open to experiencing new things and trying new things. You know, you might be surprised you could actually like Vegemite. Stranger things have happened. And also, just a housekeeping tip is please keep your bedroom clean and tidy when you're in homestay, and ensure that you leave the bedroom clean and in the same condition it was in when you arrived. Your host family will have a quick chat with you about homestay rules when you first arrive, just so you know what the expectations are in homestay. And that just makes sure that you and your host family have the best experience possible.
Fabulous. There are some great tips, Leanne.
Thank you.
I wonder if anyone in the room has ever stayed with a homestay family before. How about you guys? No. So this will be your first
time.
How about you, Vivian? Have you stayed with a homestay family before?
Yeah, I had a great time when I was staying in a homestay family. I was matched with a family with cats and also an artist mom. So my homestay family would bring me to art festival, bring me to make lanterns, a lot of different stuff. So my tips, I guess, is also an open communication of what you really like and what you maybe have reservation on. You would be surprised what an open mind would help in accepting new experiences. Sometimes you thought you didn't like something, then turns out when you have tried something new, then you may have an opportunity to really like it or develop passion in it. So I guess echoing to what Leanne was saying, really be open-minded. And I think one more very important thing is communication. So don't hide your feelings underneath your sleeves. Just be open about and be respectful of your own opinion as well as your homestay family's practices and habits.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and how about anyone else? Has anyone else had a homestay experience or lived with another family? Maybe an Airbnb where you've stayed in someone else's house? I definitely know that. I haven't stayed in a homestay before, but staying in Airbnbs with other people, it can feel awkward at first when, you know, you first come out for breakfast or those sorts of things. It's all different food and different, you know, different bathroom setups and those sorts of things. So just as you would if you were in any new environment, you know, as everyone keeps saying, ask those questions. And Leslie will also be around. She'll be a channel of communication, sharing from the student perspective. If you want that buffer between going direct to your homestay family, she's happy to answer questions. Also, your trainers, Kira and Vicky, would be a first port of call to talk to and say, I'm not sure about this. Is this something I should ask my homestay families about? Is that normal in Australia? It's not normal in Hong Kong. Is that normal here? So we're pretty happy to be your cultural guides as much as your education guides while you're here in Brisbane. Are there any questions that you guys have for Leanne? Take a moment. Have a think about what would you like to know about living with an Australian family?
Someone said showers are 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yes. Water is a precious source in Australia, especially in Brisbane. So not having excessively long showers will be appreciated. And if, you know, there's any water left on the ground after the shower, just to dry it up, to make sure that, you know, the next person is safe and there's not slippery. In Australia, we generally don't have wet bathrooms, so we keep the bathrooms very dry during use and after use.
Inside the shower is okay, just outside.
Yes, yeah, outside the shower, correct.
Yeah, and we don't tend to have baths, we tend to have showers. A lot of Australians will shower sometimes even at night, and then they go to bed pretty early. I know a lot of my students have often been shocked at, my homestay parents go to sleep at like 9 o'clock at night. Like, what's that about? So it's true. We get up early and we're out early. You'll often see people in Brisbane going for a run around the river or something at 6 o'clock in the morning, maybe Philippa.
The busiest time of day on the streets near my house is between 6 and 6:30.
In the morning.
Yeah, in the morning.
So that's why everyone's going to bed early. Doesn't mean you have to go to sleep at that time, but it does mean your household might be, you know,
quiet. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys can start practicing your 5-minute showers now. You can time yourself. Steady, go.
Yeah. Can I wash my hair in 2 minutes? Let's see.
I can wash my hair, shave my legs.
Yeah. Great, Nathan. Continue the habit for you. You'll fit right in. Righto, well, I'm sure you might have many more questions as we go along, but of course you can keep in touch with us along the way. We will thank Leanne for joining us today. You'll hear from her a lot more, and you'll start to see emails coming through as well with some instructions and things. So thank you for joining us, Leanne.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you everyone soon. Enjoy your afternoon.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.
Keep your foot up. We'll see you walking in a few weeks. Fantastic. Poor thing. Imagine 6 weeks without walking.
Oh, sitting. I love Nathan's message. Nathan, I'm so excited for you that you'll never be lonely early in the morning in Brisbane. The birds are up, the sun's up.
Totally normal. Righto, we have 10 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to zip you through a couple of fast facts and things you need to know, because there's one very important part of your program that everybody always wants to know, and that is, how will we be evaluated? How will we know if we've passed the course or not? So I'm going to share a little bit, then hand over to Vivienne to share the requirements for Hong Kong U as well, before we close today. So can you see the screen again now?
Yes.
Lovely, thank you. So when you do a program with the Queensland Institute, even though it is connected to your university program, it's different to a university course, in that this is a really, this part of the program is about practical teaching experiences, both in the classroom with us and also yourselves delivering teaching practice. So our motto is practice makes progress. We do not expect anybody to be a perfect teacher or to have had loads of experience already. We know some of you have had some experience, but we will be starting gently. We will show you how to prepare your lesson plans. We will show you and demonstrate some activities that you are welcome to use yourself. But in terms of assessment, every week you will have short tasks to complete, which all contribute to your overall portfolio throughout the program. So that includes developing lesson outlines, teaching materials, delivering a mini lesson, 8 to 10 minutes to your peers, sharing feedback with your peers. That's also a skill as teachers. We need to give feedback to students, so a great chance to try that out. We're writing short reflections on Padlet, for example, to share your experience, and also doing some self-reflections and individual assessments of yourself. How did that go? How did I do during my peer teaching, for example? All of those things contribute to a report that we prepare for each individual student and share with the University of Hong Kong in 3 main areas. Number 1 is we are looking at your professionalism. Have you engaged? All of you have great points for professionalism today, showing up on time, turning your cameras on, participating in the chat. All of these things would mean that you would tick off that professionalism report pretty easily at this point. We're also looking at language for teaching. So how are you developing your English to share as a teacher with students, classroom instructions and things like that, and planning for learning. So all of those pieces of lesson materials and lesson plans are things that contribute to us reporting on that aspect for you. Again, we'll give you criteria for each of these tasks. You'll know exactly what will be expected of you every week as we go through the program, and on week 1 online you'll receive a full assessment spec information. So I'm going to ask Vivian if she's there to share a little bit about the requirements for Hong Kong U.
Thank you. So for us from the Hong Kong U side, we don't want to overburden you with a lot of different assignments. So basically, we only require two timeline, but 3 pieces of assignments. So the first one is the mid-course reflection would be in the end of week 3, which would be sometime after your school experience. So we think that after your school experience, you should have a lot of different insights on the Australian education system, as well as you as a teacher, and cultural immersion with your students in Moreton Bay College. So we want you to consolidate your feelings or your findings to insights and write a mid-course reflection of around 800 to 1,000 words to really reflect on how does the preparation you have on the online course bridge to your experience for the first week in Australia. So that would be an insight for us to also understand how you have developed as an individual as well as an educator to cater for different cultures. Then we have the second stage of your assignment, which be the end of program reflection, which is also after week 4. It would be after week 6, which means the end of the whole program, also the physical program. So you have around approximately 1 week after the physical program ends to gather all your materials that you produce throughout the whole course. That would be all the lesson planning, all the worksheet they've created, all the materials, or some sort of little project that you've come up with, not required by QI. You can also gather them and put it into this portfolio, your teaching portfolio. So in this teaching portfolio, our aim is really for you to be really prepared for your school experience in Hong Kong U. So having this portfolio of what you have already created, that would help you to right away take something or take a little mini project that you've developed throughout the course to put into practice in your school experience or your professional practicum in the future years. So the intention of this assignment is for you to consolidate your learning and consolidate all the materials for easier use later on during your actual teaching in Hong Kong schools. And on top of that, so that's basically only consolidate everything into your portfolio. We have already uploaded the requirements and maybe later on some samples of your predecessors, so that you can take a look at how they have incorporated materials from Padlet into an actual PDF file. Then later on, you'll also have a multimodal reflection. So we believe that everyone might prefer to reflect on yourself or the whole experience in different ways. So you're allowed to write poems or make videos throughout the whole programs, as well as maybe make a podcast. So anything, make a painting, a mind map, anything. So reflect on your experience throughout your whole 6 weeks. Program with QI, and also both online and physical program. So having that said, if you chose to use another mode for reflection, for example, writing or making a video or drawing a painting, then please also add a slight description of a short description of what your rationale is and how does this explain your whole learning journey throughout this 6th week. So that's basically the 3 items that we expect of you. And the last item is really the more like a settle. It's also like a course evaluation survey. So it takes only around 10 minutes or so for you to complete that, so we can continue to share our results and share your opinion to continue polish our program in the future. So this is not too much, but then we hope to use this assignment as for you to also learn from the whole, or consolidate and conclude your program and learn from the whole program once again.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Vivian. We really appreciate how you've incorporated the assessments, and there's a real link for the students between what they do with us and what they do for Hong Kong U. So we have just a minute or so to go. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of information through another Padlet that you can go away and delve deep into looking at all things Australia. It's another Padlet. We will also email this to all students to the email that you have supplied at enrolment. So the Padlet, sometime between now and the 29th of May, when you start your course, we recommend you set aside 60 minutes to go through and make sure that you've got everything checked off and ready to go. So there's a little list for you to prepare, things to get ready, some applications you need to download, for example. That might be a quick task, as many of you seem to have Padlet already. So again, there's a password here. It's the same password. Everything will be this password, so a good one to remember. I'm going to ask you just to show me that you're here. Come and type a little hello on the Padlet here, on column 2 here, to show me you've received it. The link is in the chat now. Good. Don't forget to put your name. Hi, it's Fiona. Hi, it's Kira. Hi, Claire. Great. Hi, Natalie. Hi, Claire. Hi, Moscan. Hi, Kira. Hi, Esther. Hi, Jasmine. Hi, Cyrus. Hi, Leslie. Hi, Brian. Hi, Nathan. Hi, Dominic. Hi, Lam Lam. Hi, Thomas. Great. So as you leave the session today, I hope you enjoy meeting Coco the koala, who's going to tell you all about Australia and your life and what to pack and what to bring and what to do as you get ready for immersion. So we're going to say thank you so much to everyone for joining us and staying online for this hour and a half. We have loved seeing your faces and understanding a little bit more about the program and sharing that with all of you. So thank you for your time. You will hear from us very soon via email, so keep an eye out on your emails. It'll be a chance for you to reply and ask questions, to check out the Padlets, and we will see you on the 29th of May in Australia, virtually first, joining us online. So thank you so much, everyone. You can switch on your voices and say, see ya, thank you, bye.
Bye.
Can't wait to see you,
Thanks for joining us,
everybody.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Great to see you. Great to
Bye.
meet
We'll see
Can't
you.
wait to see you on the 29th.
Thanks, everyone.
you. Bye. Thank you.
Yay, I'll just stop the recording.